Welcome to the ACC Panic Room alongside Lauren Brownlow. I'm Joe Ovies. Carolina with a win over Duke, State with a win over Louisiana Tech. Clemson continues to struggle regardless of who they play. Have we learned anything new after another Saturday of football, Lauren?
I don't know why I have these arguments locally. I really don't. It can be so exhausting. But I was debating with some people that were telling me that Carolina's defense wasn't good because Duke isn't good. And I was just like, okay. I was like, they were 28th in the country in yards per play coming into the game.
Yeah.
For reference, State played a team yesterday that was 66th and is the highest they've played this year. That's not to say State's defense isn't good. It is good. That's not the point I'm trying to make. The point is, based on especially what we saw from North Carolina's defense last season, right? They probably would have struggled with a team that was somewhat competent offensively. But I think what we have seen from North Carolina this year, the one thing that's somewhat new to me, at least from last year especially, is that their defense and special teams have gotten better. If they had that kind of improvement last year, they might have been able to win maybe one more of those games because the offense, as we know, is not what it was. I think that's the biggest surprise with North Carolina just in general this year, that the offense has just kind of taken this long to be. It's still rough. It's still rough. The offensive line looks bad.
It's still rough. And Duke was able to hit Sam Howell a lot in this game. And I know that the big focal point on this win was what's up with the offensive line, what's up with center, what's up with the consistency. I don't see that going away anytime soon. But North Carolina, this is why I'm kind of like of the attitude that we didn't really learn much of anything about UNC, is because they play well at home. Mac Brown plays well against in-state teams at home. And the next two games will be at home as well against teams that are absolutely beatable in Florida State and Miami, although the only difference maker with Miami in the next couple of weeks if they get De'Aaron King back, but his shoulder injury continues to be mysterious. And then again, Miami could also be completely quitting on Manny Diaz, which is another topic entirely.
I don't know why you would bury the lead and just skip over FSU, who Mac Brown's never beaten.
It's at home.
So
against a bad FSU team.
Okay.
I think they'll be fine. I think so.
You really feel good about that?
Now you got me second guessing. But no, I still feel good. I still feel good about that. I still feel good about that game because this North Carolina team's like a completely different team at home. And that's college football. And that's also the ACC when nobody's really stand out great in the ACC. The road teams are going to struggle. Home teams are going to be more successful. Now, to your point about Carolina's defense, I can't sit here and tell you that North Carolina's defense didn't play well. I mean, I thought it did. But this gets to the other team as well. Duke offensively, as much as people respect David Cutcliffe, this is still a Duke team that A, lacks playmakers, B, continues to shoot itself in the foot. They continue to get penalized, and David Cutcliffe, early in the game, maybe you don't trust your offense, you put yourself in a no man's land situation after a penalty, gets you back to 4th and 9, and you decide to punt. The punt ends up being bad. North Carolina takes advantage of this, and they break out a big play. That was going to happen eventually, and that was my one quibble with Duke's game plan early on. You knew this was going to be a shootout. Got to go get those points. And deciding to punt there late in the first quarter kind of broke things open for North Carolina, and the rest was history.
They had a sequence as well where I think they had like a 3rd and 1, and they ran like a wide running play that lost yards, and then they snuck it on 4th and 2, and everybody collectively on Twitter was like, "What?" And like that's the thing too that was just strange to me.
Duke makes a lot of mistakes.
Well, and just the play call doesn't always seem to fit the moment, and I don't. Honestly, I don't feel like I'm noticing a huge difference sometimes with situational play calling between this year and last year. The one big difference, though, is that Duke can run the ball more functionally this year, and they don't turn it over all the time. I mean, when you're turning it over 39 times in 11 games, that's going to have a huge impact on your offense, regardless. But, I think
Gunnar... You might not have had your hand in the dirt, but that's analysis, Lauren.
Gunnar Holmberg, I do still think, has been an upgrade over Chase Bryce. He's been better. He's taken better care of the ball. I thought the plays that he turned it over, I thought were good plays by North Carolina. It wasn't like Chase Bryce throwing it up into as he's getting sacked last year. Like, that wasn't what was happening. And Mateo Durant's been really, really good. And he got his yards in that game, but most of them were on like 1 or 2 big runs. And Carolina was largely able to keep him bottled up. And that's been an issue for North Carolina. So regardless of what's going on with Duke and whatever, I think it's okay for us to say, no, North Carolina's not the 85 Bears on defense. But at the same time, they have improved. And the defense it kept them in the first half of that game last week when they were a mess. They wouldn't have even been close without the defense last week. And then this week, Sam Howell even said it. He's like, they kept us in this when we were playing like garbage, like basically, So, I mean, that's something that they did not do last year. We can criticize North Carolina for the way they've started the season, and it's completely fair, especially with the way they've looked offensively with the whole O-line coming back. But you do see at least there is a positive progression happening with the defense and definitely on special teams, which are much better this year. They were a disaster last year.
Meanwhile, NC State takes care of business is the best way I can put it against Louisiana Tech.
I try to have a night off. I try.
Yeah, I know. Like you and I were actually messaging last night about like when we were going to do the Panic Room, and originally we were going to like just kind of do the Panic Room after the Duke Carolina game, but then I believe I texted you saying, "Well, looks like NC State wants us to pay attention tonight." Sleepy first half, and it looked like NC State. But the thing, and here's what I tweeted this last night about some Carolina fan who was upset because I was simply asking a legitimate question about whether we learned anything about North Carolina. I was like, well, did we learn anything about State tonight? No. And I was like, no, we didn't. We kind of predicted this was going to happen. Louisiana Tech's a pretty decent team under Skip Holtz. You knew there was going to be a Clemson hangover, and I think that was evident in the first half. And if it wasn't for some questionable clock management there at the end of the game, NC State kind of escapes this one. But again, a win is a win. This was always viewed by State fans as the man, just get over the hump after the Clemson win. And if you can do that, you can get back to the normal beat of the season. That still doesn't mean they're going to beat Wake Forest. It still doesn't mean they're going to beat Boston College. Those are games on the road. But this one, I think most people eyed as a potential trap game, and they got by on it through some of their own great defensive play and sticking with the run, and a little bit of that with Louisiana Tech kind of losing their minds there at the end, where they had like 30 seconds run off the clock without realizing it. And they
end of that game was dumb.
It was, yes. It was.
But it hurt
drunker.
Me. It took like an hour. The last minute took an hour. And I was like, I don't think for any second I felt like NC State would actually lose or get tied. I really didn't. But it was like, this is taking too long, and I hate it. Like, stop.
The end of that game was drunker than some of the people I saw at the Bluegrass Festival. So State moves on. Now, we'll close on this, because this is the part that I find the most intriguing. Clemson continues to be right?
Yeah. Well, more or less. They won, though. I knew they would win because
they won. They won, but we're now at the point where Dabo's doing halftime interviews talking about how we're playing against 14. Dude, Dabo, nobody wants to hear that, bro.
What's I forgot what Clemson's message board is. He should have put it there.
Tiger, I think it's Tigers Illustrated.
Yeah, he should have started a thread there at halftime instead. Dude, it might have helped him get it off his chest.
Dude, nobody wants to hear you bitching about the officials. No. Dabo, come on, man. Read the room. Nobody's got time for that.
I know. Dabo's really never read the room in his life.
Well, that's a valid point, Lauren. That is a valid point. So the ACC continues to be absolutely wide open based on what we saw. I know Pitt went off this weekend.
They had more points than North Carolina and Clemson combined against Georgia Tech in the first quarter and a half.
I get all that. But this is also a Pitt team that lost to Western Michigan. So it's just there is no sense to be made in this ACC.
To be fair to Western Michigan, though, that's actually a team that I got an email when I voted in the AP poll last week that was like, some of you all voted for Wake, and and there was a curiosity if you meant Western Michigan. And I'm like, no, I didn't. I meant Wake. But there were enough people, I think, that were giving Western Michigan some love that that needed to be asked.
I've seen plenty of people get after you because they're like, you should be a homer for the local schools. Like, why aren't you voting for NC State or whatever?
Why are some, to be clear, some state fans, okay?
Well, I mean, because I catch strays in my mentions for some reason. Like, people why don't you ask Brownlow why she's not? You ask him. You ask her.
I don't know. Why don't you come to me and be happy with me when I did rank them? Except none of you guys cared, and now all you do is whine. You know who else whined to me for weeks about being ranked too low, only to be quiet in my mentions forever now because they're embarrassed? Carolina fans. You want to be like them?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying this out of love and affection because you know that I really like the state fan base, you know, but like, I don't understand why you guys are like this. Okay. You won. You probably make it into my top 25 this week. Okay. Are you happy now? You know why? Because Fresno State lost and Baylor lost, and Baylor didn't have a resume to begin with. So I'm probably putting you in. But like, I'm sorry. I saw the Mississippi State game still. And this is exhausting. I wanted them to just crush Louisiana Tech because I felt like that's where State was at. Now, I understand it's in a tough spot, and I'm going to give them, like, I'm not going to critique them too harshly for that or anything. I still have concerns about them moving forward, like, in terms of, like, can they win the ACC type of concerns, though? Not like, are they a good team? You know what I mean? So chill out, people. It'll take care of itself. I don't know why y'all want to get ranked. It's like the worst thing that can happen to a team around here.
It's kryptonite. You want none of that.
And then I got Carolina fans like, oh, are you going to rank them now? They don't look like a team that should be ranked. And I'm like, I hate all of you. Why do you, anytime anybody does anything good around here, all any other fan base wants to do is just tear it down and rip it apart and just make it meaningless. And I don't like it.
Well, Lauren, when we have nothing else going on for us, what are we supposed to do?
Hey, basketball starts like in 2 weeks, man. You know, just be patient.
Careful. Last time I mentioned basketball, some Carolina fans got in their feels about that. So just saying.
Wow, really?
Yeah. It's like, there you go being an ass again. I'm like, okay. Well, it kind of gets to what you talked about. You know, suddenly people get quiet in your mentions, right? And I guess that might have been why last week after Carolina lost to Georgia Tech, I'm asking, hey man, where's the heat on this, right? And I think some of it might have to do with the fact that I did have a lot of Carolina fans in my mentions talking about how I was, you know, XYZ hater, state guy, whatever, and then suddenly crickets when it comes to North Carolina matters.
Yeah, I mean the Carolina fans that were mad that I had them 12.
Where's the discourse? Where's the discourse?
All I expected was an apology from people mad that I had them 12 instead of 10 in my preseason poll.
Somebody's going to apologize on the internet, Lauren?
Listen, whatever, it's fine.
What?
It's like
there's a better chance of like balancing the budget, you know, in DC than ever getting an apology on the internet. Come on now, you crazy.
I'm just saying, like,
all right, fine.
I had that, and well, I didn't have it though. I still had them 12. I still had them too high. But now and then, it's like I don't even get credit for like not having them in the top 10 though, because state people are like, they're going to be back in the top 10 now because they won, and I'm like, I didn't have them there. All
right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the ACC Panic Room. We'll see y'all later in the week.